Hello and welcome to the StartupBREW Fargo podcast. StartupBREW is a weekly event hosted by Emerging Prairie in downtown Fargo, where we believe that entrepreneurship is energized over brews. Each week, we bring entrepreneurs, founders, and innovators together because we believe they succeed when they have access to each other and the community that supports them. This week, we welcomed Connor McGovern with ABLE Games and Monique and Jocelyne Lamoureux with their new book, Dare to Make History. We kicked off the morning with Connor McGovern, a Fargo native and an NFL center for the New York Jets. He has a passion for competition and hoped to share that experience with individuals of all ability levels. And this led him to creating ABLE Games, the region's first all-inclusive test of functional fitness. Let's listen in.
Thanks, guys. So my name's Connor McGovern. I am here on behalf of the ABLE Games and TNT Kids Fitness. So a little background about I'll talk about the ABLE Games first. So the ABLE Games is a all-inclusive for all abilities fitness competition. It came about between Kim Pladson and myself when Kim had a long family friend of my family's, and she reached out to my mom and wanted to know if I had any interest in helping with TNT Kids Fitness, and I did. So we had a meeting and we kind of grew a relationship from there, and then the two of us came up with the ABLE Games. I had kind of gotten the idea from CrossFit going to having adaptive athletes, but most of their athletes are from physical adaptations. They hadn't really gone into the development side. So I thought this was a great opportunity to kind of start going along that route. So Kim and I were talking about it, and we came up with the ABLE Games. And we had our first event this year, which was a huge success for us. And to talk a little bit about that, we obviously knew it was going to be a really cool event, but we didn't know how great it was going to be. To see people, someone that, could fully compete at the CrossFit Games or regionals level on the same floor, somebody with special needs was, way more impactful than we probably could have ever imagined. So, that's where we started, and we're growing it to go, as big as it possibly can, as big as, communities will take it. So, the goal is to eventually get the games to multiple cities, maybe a championship if we can get it big enough. But I want to take just a little bit of time, because I think I'll see a lot of faces that are at the game, to really thank Fargo and the community for having our back so much. I know Kim really appreciates it and can't thank Fargo and everybody in this community enough. TNT and now ABLE Games are going to be doing some special stuff coming up and every year. So I want to encourage everybody to keep coming out and keep supporting. But a little bit more background about myself and how I really got involved with special needs before I met the amazing Kim Pladson. In college had a buddy that was involved with the Special Olympics, and Missouri's Special Olympics is a really big organization that they do a really, really good job. And so they have a powerlifting meet every year, and I was way into powerlifting back in college. And so they asked if we wanted to, load and unload weights and help spot, and so we did. And to see an athlete, have their coach help them to the bench, explain what the workout is, even though they've been training, but explain one last time, this is what you're doing, and then to have them go and lift 225, 315 on the bench press was spectacular. And that's really what changed it for me, and really wanted to help show the ability that the community with special needs has. So the ABLE Games is an outlet to show everybody how capable everybody is. So the ABLE Games is for people with special needs, or even bound to a wheelchair. We had people competing on the floor that were in a motorized wheelchair, and the amazing thing about a fitness competition is you can adapt it and scale it for anybody. So somebody that was doing, an overhead press with 225, that could be a regional CrossFit athlete, was next to a young man bound to a wheelchair, motorized wheelchair, and he was doing the same movement with a PVC pipe. And to see those two athletes compete right next to each other, like I said before, was pretty spectacular. And then, another way that the ABLE Games will help with outreach is showing how capable the athletes are. Something like a simple kettlebell swing is, fairly similar to, stocking a shelf at a grocery store or stuff. So the ABLE Games is also a way to show everybody how capable they are and how someone with special needs can implement themselves in the everyday workforce. The ABLE Games, at the end of the day, allows everybody to compete. I've made a living off of competition. I come from an incredibly competitive family, and so to not have a competition as part of my life, I can't even imagine it. So to be able to give that outlet for everybody to compete, to really, show how capable everybody is kind of the end goal of the ABLE Games. And I don't know my time yet, and I could just keep talking, or I got 1 minute left. So to finalize, I would really like to just encourage everybody, next year when the ABLE Games comes around, to just come out. And if you want to volunteer. Would love to compete. It doesn't matter if you're Olympic athletes, professional athletes, CrossFit athletes, special needs, stay-at-home mom with 3. Everybody, there's a division for everybody. And whether you want to compete, volunteer, or just come watch, I think it is definitely a life-changing event that everybody benefits from. So I just want to thank everybody that was involved this year, and encourage everybody to come out next year. Thank you, guys.
Next up, we were joined by Monique and Jocelyne Lamoureux. Monique and Jocelyne are from Grand Forks, North Dakota, and they are 3-time Olympians, Olympic gold medalists, and 6-time world champions. They recently just retired from the USA women's national hockey team after 15 years, and they released an Amazon bestseller book, Dare to Make History, Chasing a Dream, and Fighting for Equity. They are using their platform to make a difference through their foundation to help underprivileged kids in North Dakota. Let's listen in.
Thank you, Emma. So I'm Jocelyne. We always start off by introducing which one's which. That's Monique. Just to talk about our book a little bit, first, we're 3-time Olympians, 6 times world champions. We just announced our retirement right before our book came out in beginning of February of this year. And basically we wrote a book because we wanted to share our story, but more importantly, we wanted to share our team story. And if you had a chance to get to know Monique and I, we don't really love to talk about ourselves. We like to fly under the radar, but we were really encouraged by a couple of our mentors that we had a story to tell that's important to share. And so what really got us over the hump was basically we wanted an opportunity to share a team story about fighting for more equality in women's hockey and how that has transcended into other parts of our life. And so we really share a story growing up with 4 older brothers, our parents basically providing us every opportunity that our brothers were provided. There was never an activity that we wanted to do or a sport that we wanted to play except for football. Our mom wouldn't let us play football. She made us run cross country instead. But there was never a reason for them to say no, and we were always just given the opportunity to reach our full potential in whatever it was that we wanted to pursue or participate in. And so we share a lot of stories in our book about growing up and what that meant and how that really shaped our view on opportunities that young girls and women should be given. And then we talk about our national team career. We spent 15 years on the national team, which in professional sports is a long time, and in a sport where you don't necessarily see the financial gains is also a very long time, and what that meant as far as fighting for more for young girls that are sitting in the front row who play hockey. If they want to grow up and play professional hockey and play on the national team, what our team did in 2017 was try to create more opportunities for these young girls so that they don't have the same battles that we faced growing up in the sport and faced on the national team as some of the best players in the world. And so we really talk about that in our book and what that looked like and why our team did what we did. And we just think that that's probably the most important part of our journey. And then to kind of wrap up the book, we talk about obviously the gold medal game and the roles that we had, but also starting our foundation and why we started our foundation and why ultimately that's the most important part of what this journey and what our career is all about.
Yeah, I think it would have been extremely easy for us to end our book with our gold medal experience and what we were able to do, especially with the roles that we played. For those who don't know, I scored the tying goal, and then Jocelyne scored the game-winning sudden death shootout goal. And I'm sure everybody has seen on YouTube or some sort of social media. But what we know as Olympic champions and Olympic gold medalists, that gives us a special platform, and what we do with that platform is really important to us and really is our why. And when we were growing up, our mom, us being twins, if we ever competed in a sport that we were going against each other, she was in the dilemma, well, who do I cheer for? And so she would cheer for the one behind. So cross country, she was usually cheering for me. Jocelyne's faster than me. But that saying or mantra is permeated into other parts of our lives, and with the start of our foundation, that's really what we're trying to cheer for the one behind, help kids that might not have their basic needs being met. And with our foundation, we've tried to help basic needs be met every day, whether that's food insecurity, internet access. We helped, Kidsona helped provide, it was over 100 families at the start of COVID with meals, because families couldn't get to schools to get their normal meals when school was out. So we helped provide money for that. So kids and families were being fed. We helped with internet access, as everyone knows how important that is in work and in school, so kids could do their schoolwork. We helped support called the Giving Tree. It's basically a store where kids or social workers and teachers can get basic needs for kids. Instead of having to go to the store to get shampoo and conditioner for a child, they can just go to the store and get whatever they need. So we believe that every kid's basic needs should be met at the end of the day, and no matter where you're from, where you grew up, every child deserves an opportunity to reach their full potential. And so we're just trying to meet gaps in the school system so those kids can do what they need to do to be successful in school, because kids that typically grow up in a less advantageous background, school is the way for them to succeed and to get out of certain situations. And so if we can help kids reach their full potential, that's certainly our goal, and hope to continue to be able to do that. And so we hope that any of you guys want to go to LamoureuxTwins.com. You can learn more about our foundation. You can follow us on social media, and we hope that you guys help join us in our mission to cheer for the one behind and make a difference.
After the presentation, we opened up to a live Q&A session with the audience. And today we were joined by our host, Emma McIntyre, who is also the lead coordinator of StartupBREW Fargo. Let's listen in.
So we're going to jump into our audience Q&A for the morning. If you have a question, we have a lot of space here. So we can't necessarily request questions out loud, because we wouldn't want you to scream from the back. If you have questions, please tweet them in at StartupBREW Fargo. You can do that on Twitter, and they'll pop up here on my phone, and we'll ask real time. But to kick us off, we love to celebrate wins. Obviously, you guys did a lot in 2020, even though the year had wild restrictions ahead of you. Can you share something that you're most proud of, either in the book launch or in your first ever ABLE Games, that you look back on and can't help but just be incredibly proud of?
The thing that I was definitely most proud of with the ABLE Games, so 2020, was heartbreaking. A lot of people put in a lot of hard work supposed to be the first one. Got postponed due to COVID, so it was 2 years in the making. And between the help of TNT and Kim Pladson and her team, who did a fantastic job, my family, friends, everybody that helped. It was truly an amazing experience. And just to reiterate for the people that weren't there, just to see that group of people, from someone with special needs to CrossFit Games athletes, all on one floor, is truly spectacular. And like I said before, it is something that we didn't think was going to be as cool as it was. So I really encourage everybody to come out, and that was, by far the coolest thing that's happened is just how it being cooler than we thought it was going to be. It was pretty special.
I would have to say we do an all-girls hockey camp once a summer, and we just actually did our 2 weeks ago. We were in Bismarck, and so we do an all-girls camp on a weekend, and we had over 140 girls show up this last year, and so we've had a really successful camp. But what we've done is, actually last year we had a family because of scheduling conflicts. Instead of asking for a refund, they asked if they could donate their spots to 2 girls that otherwise wouldn't be able to go. And because of that donation and act of kindness, we were able to, I think this year it was 5 girls. Other people decided to step up and donate spots and do that and recreate that act of kindness. So over the last 2 years, I think we've had over 10 spots be donated just through one act of kindness. And the last 3 years, what Joss and I have done with the profits that we make from our all-girls camp goes directly into our foundation. And so over the last 3 years, we've been able to donate put $50,000 back into our foundation. So indirectly, girls that come to our camp are actually helping us make a difference in communities. And so that's probably the one thing I'm most proud of over the last year. That's what I was going to say, but I have another one. I think through the last year, I think COVID has offered a lot of perspective in how we spend our time and how we want to live our lives moving forward. And I would say that through our retirement and through our book launch, I'm most proud to have shared our story and being from North Dakota, but using our career to launch something more important to us. And I think when you get to the end of your athletic career, there's a lot of people asking, like, why now? Do you second guess it? Do you miss it? And there's always a piece of us that will miss competitively playing. But just proud of the way that we decided to step away from the game, but also use that announcement to leverage something more important to us and create more momentum around our foundation and more awareness is something that I'm very proud of.
That's a great segue. Oh, yes. Heck yes. That is a fantastic segue into our first online question. So like I said, if you have a question, tweet it in at StartupBREW. The first one that we have is, all 3 of you have gone above and beyond towards equality and inclusion in sports. What are some of the biggest, and maybe I'm going to add in there, and unexpected hurdles you faced?
For us, it was, the hardest part's been COVID. We decided to launch the games right as COVID was, at its peak. So for us, that's kind of been the hardest thing. But it's actually kind of been surprising. It's taken a lot of work and a lot of time and dedication. But it's kind of a segment, or it's an area that hasn't, there's not a lot of people doing it. Besides the Special Olympics, there's not another kind of an organization where people with special needs can compete. So we've actually been growing it and as best we can with COVID, but other than that, it's been going pretty well just because it's kind of an untapped area.
Is this more for athletic career or foundation?
I think it's in equality. So equality in sports, and then
so
all that's
I would say when we graduated college and we're going towards our second Olympics, we entered post-grad life, as we call it. And I think what we realized really quickly was we had to find full-time jobs on top of being elite athletes, which is also a full-time job. And so really quickly we realized that being the best at your sport doesn't mean that you're given certain things. And so we, as a team, and we talk about in our book, we came together and said, if we don't make change, things aren't going to change. So we either got to do something or we got to stop complaining about it. And so that was, I think, our team being able to come together and create a contract and negotiate with USA Hockey to better the landscape of women's hockey, not just for the national team, but for all of girls and women across all ages, for the sport of hockey, I think is something that that was probably the biggest hurdle that we faced in our hockey careers. Yeah, I think to go off of what Monique was saying is, even though the conversations we had have definitely created change throughout, I would say, women's hockey in the United States, just because conversations were had and certain things have changed, it doesn't mean attitudes have changed. And so being willing to continue the conversation and be a voice for those that don't have one, I think is really important. But it's never easy to continuously be that voice, be the one knocking on the door, trying to create positive change. And so I would say it's a challenge, but it's not something that can't be done.
I have a question for the both of you. So you've been on a very similar stage before. Can you share maybe how was the book launch difficult in ways some of the other projects you've worked on haven't been? Or yeah.
Well, I was 38 weeks pregnant when our book came out, so just managing, I felt like I was operating on half a brain for about 2 weeks while we were doing a bunch of interviews. But I think just trying to, when we did interview after interview, I think trying to have a concise message within anywhere from a 3 to 5 minute segment and making sure you're getting all your points in and being consistent with your messaging, I think that was probably one of the tougher parts of our book launch. Yeah, the book launch is the fun part of the whole process, though, because once you get to the editing process and you're reading the same pages over and over and over and over again, it gets pretty tedious. So I would say the book launch is the fun part of actually writing a book. You get people to read your book, to share your story with, and so that was I would say it was fun. It was hectic, and we were hoping Monique wasn't gonna have to bow out early, but it all worked out.
So, I'll do a last call for questions via Twitter if anybody wants to ask. I do have a question that we typically end on, which is, we have roughly 200 of your best friends here today. What is one thing that each of us can do to help energize the work that you guys are doing?
For us, it's just coming out and competing. You know, I know a lot of people didn't really know what the ABLE Games were this year. It's the first year. It's never easy the first year to get people to wrap their head around, especially a newer sport being functional fitness. But just encourage everybody to come out and compete. You know, it's you don't have to be professional athletes to come and compete at the ABLE Games. There's we're currently figuring out all the ways we're gonna have classes and be able to scale it, and it's looking like there might be potential like 7-8 classes. So it really doesn't matter your ability. We just encourage everybody to come out and to compete, and definitely we'll have a little fun, and I think everybody will be changed when they see all the cool stuff going on.
I think what people can take away from today for us is everyone, whether you're a professional athlete, retired athlete, or you just think you're like a normal person, is everybody has the capacity to make a difference every single day, whether it's great or small. And people remember how you treated them, and whether that's holding a door for an old person that might be coming through a doorway, or what small acts of kindness truly make a difference. And everybody is here today because you care about your community and making a difference in your community, and everybody has the capacity to make a difference and help somebody, whether that's turning their day around if they're having a tough day and you made it better, or just through small acts of kindness. Everybody has the capacity to make a difference. Yeah, I think as we all walk the journey of life, we have things we want to accomplish, and Monique and I were fortunate to accomplish a childhood dream of winning an Olympic medal. And what we do in the process and how we treat people on that journey is ultimately the most important part of what our lives are about. And so, like Monique said, everyone has the capacity, big or small, to make a difference in the people's lives around us. And it doesn't always have to be in grand gestures. It can be in for young kids, it can be in the classroom setting or at home, doing the dishes without being asked. It can be small things that really do make a difference in other people's lives. And ultimately, when we look back, that's what's going to be the most important part of what we've been able to accomplish. Our medals will collect dust, and they sit on a shelf in a sock right now, because that's
or in a bag in the closet.
Or a bag in a closet, and so they're amazing things, and it's an amazing tool for us to be able to give back, but how we treat people is ultimately what matters.
Yes, well, thank you. We'll end there. Let's give them a big round of applause.
That's all we have for this week's StartupBREW Fargo. Thanks for listening in. StartupBREW Fargo is energized by Emerging Prairie, an organization dedicated to connecting and celebrating the entrepreneurial ecosystem. We'd also like to thank the following sponsors for their support: Pro Resources, Brady Mertz, the FMCVB, Office Sign Company, Fargo Parks, and MidCo. See you next time.